Welcome to Wins and Lessons Podcast, hosted by Michael Winters, the Growth Educator. This podcast is a platform to give listeners an inside perspective on life, education, and business experiences from each guest. Thank you for tuning in. It's Wins and Lessons.
Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wins and Lessons. Today, I'm excited to have my guest, Andrea Fitzgerald, the author of The Rookie Playbook. So I look forward to you all listening and learning more about Andrea and the work that she's doing in education, also supporting new teachers. So, Andrea, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can start by just sharing a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Andrea Fitzgerald, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And so essentially, I've done a lot of things. I'm a math consultant, new teacher consultant, but essentially what I do is I build the self-efficacy of people at this point in time, particularly educators and students. So the whole premise of what I do, and people may be wondering, like, what is self-efficacy? Self-efficacy is the belief that I can produce a desired result. So oftentimes when we don't maybe like execute on the things that we actually want for ourselves, we're challenged in the classroom, or we're just challenged with things in general, then often it has to do with our belief in our own ability and our confidence. And so I've done a lot of hard things. Like, I earned a scholarship. They said I was too short, I couldn't shoot, but I still earned a Division I scholarship. And so hard work, effort, continuing to believe that I could do it, and overcoming some challenges, and I got it done. But every time that we as human beings, beyond educators, all of that, students, but when we ask ourselves, like, when we do those hard things, the next question we ask ourselves is like, okay, I did that, what else can I do? Like, I just did that. And so that's kind of the whole premise of what I do.
That's awesome. That's what's up. Self-efficacy is very important, like you said, not just for educators to instill in our kids, but also as people in general. So you definitely got to have a sense of that, to believe in yourself, to push your goals forward. So I'm all for that. My next question would be, what led you into the field of education? You mentioned that you were a math consultant and you work with new teachers, but what really motivated you and led you into that?
So let's just be clear right quick. Like, let's just go ahead and be clear. I did not enter education for kids. Okay. Like, it was not like straight up. Let me tell you, I worked in the NBA for a very long time. Like, I was a former athlete. I worked in the NBA, and I wanted to wear sweatpants every day. Like, I was like, I want to be a PE teacher so I could wear sweatpants every day. Yeah. And that didn't necessarily work out, so I became a math teacher. And so when I got in the profession, I was like, wait a minute, this is not just teaching math problems, and the kids ran me out the room. Like, I don't know about your first year, but mine was a hot mess. So, I mean, leaving the class hoarse every single day. And so, but what I began to see is that it was more than just teaching. The greatest gift that my students gave me was teaching me compassion, because I'm a former athlete. Hey, let's go in here, let's work out, let's get these results, da 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 da. But when working with kids, it's beyond it. You really are dealing with human beings. And so that's what kind of led me to education. It wasn't kids, but it really became kind of a calling for me, really around that idea of efficacy, because, just seeing kids believe in their own ability, coming from challenging circumstances where the state would say, oh, they can't do it, and just seeing them step up and become, really like find their voice and become like an even inspired, better version of themselves. That's what it's all about to me. I'm just like, yeah, I do math, but I teach self-efficacy through math.
That's awesome. I love it. I can't stress enough how important it is for our kids, especially, the demographic that we work with. If we don't teach them to believe in themselves and that they can actually do things, unfortunately, no one else will. So, again, I applaud you for that. I can't say how important it is enough. So about your book, the Rookie Playbook. So you
Right.
mentioned that you work in the NBA, and that you were an athlete yourself. So
Right.
how does that translate into the work that you're doing now? What was the motivation behind writing that book?
Well, so like you said, I mean, I'm a former athlete, and so um, I just thought about like, as a first year teacher, you really are a rookie. I mean, you have your 4 years, just like a college, a NBA professional. You have your however many years. Now it's probably like one in college, but you have your prep time before you go, and then like that first year, you kind of figure it out as you go. And so I was thinking along the same lines, like this is my first year as a teacher, or even the first couple years as a teacher. Like, how do I become a solid and effective teacher? And so the analogy for me was like, oh, okay, like rookie's playbook, and just providing like practicality. That was the thing for me, practicality, because people can tell you how to do things all the time, but just make that thing simple and plain. I don't need all the extra. Just straight, no chaser. So that's the whole thing. Yes, practical tips. Yep.
That's what's up. So, um, I guess to follow into that, what advice do you wish that you had as a new teacher?
Um, I wish that someone would have told me how important it was to build relationships.
Okay.
Like it is, I mean, it is invaluable. I often tell the story about my first year. I was up at the board, I was teaching, and it was a student. She was talking, and I said, "Hey, let's go in the hallway. I'm going to call your parents." And so we go out in the hallway, and she has this little smirk on her face. I hand her my BlackBerry, which you're supposed to look in the system to get the phone number. You already know. So I go back in the classroom, and when I tell you the kids wouldn't stop laughing, like I couldn't figure it. I was like, why are they laughing? Like, so I sit at my desk, I had this meltdown, and then my student plug, that's what I call it. My student, the student that kind of give you a little intel of what's really going on. So she tells me, said, Miss Fitzgerald, you didn't talk to Chrissy. You talked to April in the classroom. They had you on speakerphone. We heard the whole conversation, So I'm having this meltdown, and I finally get on the phone with her, with who I think is her mom, but she says like she begins to proceed and tell me that like the student wasn't even being raised by her mother. Like her mother wasn't in the picture, her grandma and her sister, they were really doing the best they can. And so I realized in a lot of ways I was kind of judging my students in some ways, like they don't care, they don't, this, that, and the other. And I had a lot of, biases. And that really changed the game for me, because I started to see that, no one really cares about what you're talking about if they don't know that you have a genuine interest in their success, and that you like are literally like you're committed to them being the best that they can be, and like you're genuinely invested. And so I realized in that moment that like relationships, culture, the soft skills, those things are imperative to be an effective teacher. Who gives a crap about a math problem if you can't connect with your kids? Like, who cares?
Okay. You hit the nail on the head with that. Building relationships. Kids got to know that you care before they care what you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how has your work with new teachers impacted them in their classroom experience?
Well, I think the ones that I've worked with have had some pretty good results. Like one of the teachers that comes to mind, was a few teachers. One of them that comes to mind, like it was like my first year as a coach. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just in there, I just taught them what I did in my classroom. And I don't know if you remember that first year that they had the 10 ready, and the results was like, it was like across the district. It was like, oh my gosh, they went to the toilet, but the work that he and I did, like he was a level 5, like the kids in his class like grew, and it was very few Algebra 1 teachers that had those type of results. But, he was super receptive, and like the work that we did was around like instructional focus, but also like on him and how he showed up every day, so he was able to get some really good results. And another teacher that comes to mind he was very sound content wise, but just the connection with the kids. And so last year we devoted, the whole entire, his prep time, that whole week before school was just like getting him ready for that first day. In addition to like the structures and routines, but like, how are you going to show up in that first interaction? You know what I mean? Because I think that's often, I call it that teacher pizzazz, like, you teach your content, but you got to sell it to the people. Like, why am I going to listen to you, Mr. Winters? Like, why am I going to listen to you talk about whatever it is that you're talking about, And so, he and I worked on like getting him ready for that opening day. Like, what's your opening speech? Like, what are you about to tell these people? What is that first interaction? And so he had a much better year. And I saw him teach like the previous 2 years, and it was a little chaotic, but just seeing his progress around like those soft skills that people don't tell you about, and just making it practical, like just making it really simple. It's not that deep. No one, I don't even know if someone like officially teaches you how to teach.
They don't.
Nobody teach me how to yeah, like no one teaches you that. I had some great mentors, so I got that opportunity, but everyone doesn't get that. So, just teaching him how to teach, like how do you show up, like, having, policies, procedures, routines, setting a strong culture, things like that. So, he had a much better year this year. And so, yeah, those have been a few teachers that I've worked with that had some pretty good results. Yeah.
That's what's up. I remember my first year teaching. It really wasn't that long ago. I'm going into year 4.5 for me.
Okay.
I remember my first time being in that thing on my own. For me, the issue wasn't necessarily with building relationships with the kids. I think that kind of came easy for me. But it was choosing battles wisely. And that does kind of go into building the relationships, right? So once I learned the kids that I was working with, I was able to decide which battles I wanted to, pick. And once I really got that, that helped me build even stronger relationships.
Oh, yeah.
I can recall like the scholars who I had the strongest relationships with were the ones who, would do the best work. And those could be considered to be like, behavior problems, kids with behavior issues or whatever, but they knew that I cared about them beyond just them coming and doing my work. They knew that I respected them. I wanted them to do good in general. And so those are the ones who would come back like the next school year when they go on to middle school, whatever, come back and visit me and thank me.
Right.
And they'll find my IG page that I made for and just message me or comment on stuff, and things like that make it worthwhile to me. Like it makes me feel like I made the right decision by going into this field, into this profession, and I'm being effective at it. So I definitely like that you work with those teachers on not just instructional things, but also how to, like you said, how to be in the classroom, how to be with your students. I think that's huge, and that's a component that's missed. Like in the teacher education programs, they really don't teach you about that.
Right.
How to engage kids. They just teach you the basics. That's a really good thing. It's for you to be doing their work. So I applaud you again on that.
Thank you.
So with the decisions that we're facing now, having school online or in person, what advice would you give to a new teacher that's beginning their career doing this? Like how are you going to engage kids online versus how to engage them in person? But you got to think about engaging them in person is going to come with some right? Like we got our mask and social distancing and all of that. So what's the advice you would give to someone who's starting their career now?
Yeah, I actually had that conversation with someone today. I think that in a classroom, I think it's pretty challenging anyway to get somebody to buy in and convince them that like, hey, let's get it. I'm selling you this math. Like, this is what you need. Let's go. But in the online and virtual space, I still feel like it's even more important that we get that buy-in and we really build those relationships even more now. Like, Like, I mean, I understand the math problems. I understand, like, hey, let's hit this text. But I would say to a new teacher that is engaging in that virtual space, I would say that it is even more important now that you really build those relationships and you really connect, really find ways, unique ways to connect with your students. I think structure is still going to be important. You know, I mean, once obviously your school is going to have a framework for how they do things and things like that. But it's still this. I mean, in some ways, it's still similar things. But I think the thing that is going to be most essential now is those connections. Because why am I going to log on to this computer, Mr. Winters? Like, it's hard enough. I'm in the class. I'm looking out the window. Now I'm at the crib and this show on and I'm going to hop on and watch you for an hour. No, and so I think that, I had a webinar a few weeks ago and I said, what's really important now is people don't buy products. They buy people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people don't buy, like when you buy, you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy these Jordans. I like Michael Jordan, right? Like that, So it's a similar thing. Like what are you going to sell to your students and convince them that, hey, I'm going to log on this computer 3 days a week for Mr. Winters? Like, what is that unique proposition that I'm going to offer to my students where they, they want to buy in, they want to log on the computer, I'm able to connect, but it's still, I think it's also a focus on content too, obviously. I mean, it's not like, oh, let's just all do relationships all day. I mean, you still like need the skill to teach, like I call it technical mastery. Like you still it's got to be solid, I would say, just to close it out, I know that's a lot, but I say the four C's: connection, credibility, confidence, and consistency. Those 4 things have to be there on that first interaction and with your students. So I say credibility, like, why should I listen to you, Mr. Right. Winters? Like, why am I gonna why am I logging in every day? Confidence, like, you got this. This is gonna be a great experience. Listen, I'm prepared. I have everything together. That's another thing. Preparation is gonna be key. And then I would say consistency, be who you say you are. And then I forgot the other one: confidence, credibility. I forgot my other C: confidence, credibility, consistency, and and connection. Yeah. So I think especially in a virtual space, it's going to be imperative that we really take the time to genuinely invest in our students. Making phone calls home to your students. I think, like, talking to their parents, things like that. Video. I did some research yesterday on how to do virtual lessons, because I'm trying to put something together for new teachers about the virtual piece. But yeah, I would say video is a jam. You almost got to engage them like you're on YouTube, folks. You gotta bring it like that. Like, why am I gonna log in on the computer? It's hard enough for you to engage me in class. Just being real,
Right. Most definitely. You brought up a valid point with them being at home and the TV being on, and kids love playing video games and stuff.
Right.
So that's a good point. Why should I stop what I'm doing, my entertainment, in the comfort of my home, to listen to what you're saying, or whatever it is you want to tell me? Why should I stop what I'm doing? And
Right.
I think the connection piece that you've been talking about is huge. Like, they have to definitely buy into you as a person, before they're willing to receive. So
Absolutely.
I can get that. That's what's up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when will your book be available?
Probably gonna be available. It's gonna be available August 1st. So it will be dropping August 1st. It's ready now. It's just I gotta make a few tweaks, make sure it's right and tight. But yeah, so August 1st it will be ready, and you can pre-order at mentalfitness.com/rookies if you want to go ahead and grab your copy. But it's definitely some gems in there, and really just the things that are not in your teacher prep program, but essential to be a great teacher, i.e. the clapback game. That is a tool. For every teacher, you must have this tool. So yes.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, how can people, stay in contact with you? I know that you mentioned the website. Of course, this is going to be on your page, but what are some other ways people can stay in touch with you to keep up with what you're doing?
Well, you can hit me at in all my platforms at Mental Fitness. MENTALFITZNESS, and you can also hit me up at mentalfitness.com. So you can just DM me, any of those. I'm always available. So just get at me. I got you.
Cool. Look, I appreciate this time today. I learned some things myself that's very important. So I can't wait to dive into the book when it's ready. And I can't wait to see, the work that you're doing with these new teachers and just making connections as a whole. So thank you for taking the time out to be a part of the show today on Wins and Lessons. Until next time, peace.
All right, see y'all. We out.
This has been another episode of Wins and Lessons. Be sure to download Wins and Lessons podcast from Apple Podcast and Spotify. Subscribe to the Growth Educator channel on YouTube for the videos and follow at Wins and Lessons Podcast and at the Growth Educator on Instagram. Remember these 3 things: we live, we love, we learn.